say good morning to you. How about you? Tay-Tay, you rock, man. Let's say good morning. Oh, we're hugging you. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom.
Celebration is sometimes celebration is right here. So let's take that love inside and remember the truth that wherever love is, whenever we're together, we're standing on holy ground.
When I walked through the doors, I sensed God's presence, and I knew this was a place where love abounds. For this is a temple, the God we love abides here. For we are standing in God's presence on holy ground. We are standing on holy ground, and I know there are angels all around. Let us praise God now, praise God anyhow. For we are standing in God's sweet presence on holy ground, on holy ground. In God's presence, I know there is joy beyond all measure. And that God's peace, sweet peace of mind, can still be found. Ooh. For when we have a need, God is still the answer. Oh, reach out and claim it, for you are standing on holy ground. We are standing on holy ground, holy ground. And I know there are angels. I can feel them all around. Praise God, praise God now, praise God anyhow. For you are standing in God's sweet presence on holy ground.
And it is both the presence of spirit, the presence of love, and the presence of you that make it holy ground. Oh, Janet, thank you so much. Yeah, so that's what we're here to celebrate, the holiness of life, and it happening right here in our hearts and in this community. So we'd like to just close our Adventures in Spirit program with this extraordinary celebration that we're having this morning, and just to remember what it is we've been up to all month.
When we started this, and see what y'all remember, our 2016 goal is $708,000, and you do that so well, 105 pledges and beyond. Okay. And now we're going to find out what happened. Okay, everybody ready? Okay, it was 205 pledges. You didn't even need the slide on this. And what we came in with, 152. So let's get that, let's say thank you. And just so you know on that, that's not the number of people, that's the number of pledge cards. So some of those cards, obviously you all know, had 2 people on it, maybe even more. So, but that's the number of entities or groups that we would recognize as saying, I'm going to have a support my community and have that adult relationships. We're grateful for every last one of you on that. Now we talk about numbers. And what was the number? $708,000. Well, say goodbye to that. I bet you're wondering what the next one is. It is, drum roll, good, drum roll. $733,884. Thank you, y'all. Y'all did a great job. And don't forget that and beyond, there's still going to be an opportunity for pledge cards, which you'll be hearing about more a little bit later.
Thank you for making 2016 at CSLDallas. Live, love, and prosper. Now it's
time to dance.
here.
That's how you celebrate.
That's how you celebrate. That's how you actually dance with the consciousness of abundance. Woo! Oh
Did
my
you
gosh.
boldly go someplace you hadn't been before?
Whew. I'm catching my breath. All right, here we go. So how do you go someplace that you've never been before? How do you boldly go to a place that you've not ever been? There
One
you
step
go.
at a
Well, we can
time.
sit down now.
Oh, that's right. They can do the talk for us. Good, though. It's good.
Yes, and it doesn't require any kind of futuristic spaceship or any kind of like technology that's not been developed yet. Like, you know, we've seen the beam me up transporter. Thank you, all that good stuff. We
Clearly see who's the bigger Star Trek fan.
I beg to differ. Though she's watching all the series, she's on season 6, I think. So you don't need anything to transport you anywhere. Oh my gosh, this you merely need to tap into this limitless power, this universal presence that is absolutely within each of us, everywhere. That is what we're focusing on to take us boldly where we've never gone before, right? And you see, consciousness is all about creating the reality that we want, and consciousness is what creates that reality. That's what creates the reality that we may not have ever known before. It's consciousness that absolutely knows no precedent whatsoever, so it does not matter anything that has ever taken place before this breath in your life. It's the consciousness that creates reality, and yet we need to grow our consciousness, because as consciousness grows, so does our reality that we get to experience and that we get to enjoy in our life. So the more we understand this thing called consciousness, and sometimes we throw that word around when we are talking, like, well, it's all about your consciousness. And we throw it around, but what is it that we're truly talking about? But as we grow our own consciousness, or quote, tap into the consciousness, life itself, ultimate reality, our reality grows and expands. Ernest Holmes tells us that realizing then that while the power is limitless, it must become operative through our own thought. We shall see that what we need is not some greater power. It's already there. It's limitless, but a greater consciousness. And this is really where it lies, a deeper realization of life itself. So as we become more operative in growing our consciousness, that which manifests in our life grows as well.
So what is consciousness? There's so many ways that we use that term, and there are so many definitions of the word consciousness. Conscious, to be conscious of someone. I'm conscious of somebody walking in the room. I'm conscious, I'm self-conscious. And yet we'd also understand consciousness to be awareness, that which is aware, that which is awake, right? Conscious, to be conscious as opposed to be unconscious. That consciousness, we use this term in lots and lots of different ways. And yet when we think about consciousness, we're talking about the nature of reality itself. Ernest Holmes says consciousness and God are identical. Consciousness means awareness. God is the infinite awareness everywhere present in its entirety. So what's the most commonly accepted, agreed upon definition of this thing we call God? Omniscience, omnipotent, omnipresent. Omniscience, all-knowing, infinite intelligence. Omnipotent, all-powerful, able to create anything. And omnipresent, everywhere present. One of our favorite ways of talking about this divine reality, it is that circle which has its center everywhere and its circumference nowhere. So it has no edges, there's no limitation, there's no boundary, there's no place where we say that God ends. It doesn't have any shape or definition. And yet the center of the divine reality is present anywhere that one can point to and say that's the center. The center of me, the center of you, the center of the rock and the mountain and the planet and the galaxies and the universe itself. That center. And so what is at the center but consciousness, awareness? In our book that we're going to be talking about this month, Peter Russell, I just want to take a minute to stop about this book called From Science to God. This is a scientist's journey into mysticism. And he speaks about where he started as a scientist. And there is, yes, a little bit of academic work to be done at the beginning of the book, as he talks about the unfolding of scientific understanding. And then he begins to show us how that is meeting where the mystics have been all along. Peter Russell in our book here says, if we want to find God, we have to look within, into deep mind. Because, the scientists have been looking out into the universe, the astrophysicists have been looking out into the universe through these massive telescopes, and when they look out there, what do they say? They say, oh my gosh, I see consciousness looking back. I see intelligence. I see the creative process and power looking back. And our quantum scientists have gone deep into the subatomic field, into the quantum field, and they've looked there and they've seen something really extraordinary. That quantum field, well, it isn't always material reality. The quantum field is winking in and out of existence. And that which winks it back into existence is an interesting question. Why does it wink back in that certain moment? We'll be exploring this all month. The psychologists have explored this notion of inner awareness, and they have met those people who have taught meditation. That when we still our egoic mind, we discover something profound about ourselves. Peter Russell says consciousness is the capacity for inner experience. Awareness. I am. And it's not, I think, therefore I am. It is, I am and I know I am. That is the moment of consciousness. Ernest Holmes says, what I mean by consciousness is the power to know, self-knowing. That ability to see reality. So consciousness is the nature of reality that is able to see itself as the nature of reality. And so this becomes a generative quality. We see from the mystics, the ancient mystics, when consciousness looked upon itself and said, let there be light, there was light. When that movement in consciousness happens of self-awareness, in that moment, consciousness moves into form. And you see, we practice that every day, every time we say an affirmation, every time we do our spiritual mind treatment. In our Adventures in Spirit program, we have been using the generative power of consciousness. When? Every single time we've said, and our goal is... and our pledge goal, our number of pledges goal is. Do you see, we are aware of using that generative power, and being aware that we are aware allows that to be the seed from which form is expressed, and we can see the results in the results of our program. Now, we actually have one number that's gone way over the top and one number that isn't quite there yet, as you saw. So how do we grow our consciousness about things? How do we grow our abundance consciousness? How do we grow our consciousness to experience greater love, or to feel like we're contributing in our workplace, or to feel like we matter, or to feel our own worthiness? Do you see, we are able to not just be conscious, but we're able to be aware of the shape of our consciousness, or the places where we have limited this unlimited consciousness. The places where we've drawn a boundary around it and said, well, this is how much I can imagine. This is how much I can hold. And so when we teach in Science of Mind, we teach spiritual mind treatment and affirmations, and we talked about the 5 spiritual practices. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is not I speak my word and all of a sudden I'm a millionaire. This is an opportunity for us to understand that our practices and our tools are for growing consciousness. And when the inner space has been grown, the form follows. Do you see? This is what it means to grow consciousness. Ernest Ohm says this: a change of consciousness does not come by simply willing or wishing, and it is not easy to hold the mental attention to an ideal while the human experience is discordant. But it is possible. Knowing the truth is not a process of self-hypnosis, but one of a gradual unfoldment of the inner self. Do you see, our Adventures in Spirit program committee, we've been doing prayer work since the beginning of September. We've been doing prayer work to grow our consciousness, to embrace the idea that our community and our budget is as big as we said it was going to be. To grow our consciousness, to embrace the idea that each and every member of our community, each person who watches us online, every person who's a part of this community is actually experiencing that larger experience of life. We have grown our ability and our internal space to hold that for and about you, which has, of course, grown that for each one of us individually. We've had to push against any place inside ourselves where there was, maybe not, or I don't know how that's going to work, or, well, I can't really figure out how we're going to do that. Do you see, those are the limitations, the places where we draw the boundary of our consciousness. And yet, we are a center of the universe. We are a center of the universe whose circumference is nowhere, which means that in the universal consciousness, there is no limit or boundary. And as we grow our internal space through all the spiritual practices that we talk about, visioning, meditation, spiritual mind treatment, sacred service, and giving and tithing, you see, we're growing that internal space where we become aware of our ability to be aware of larger life, a deeper realization of life.
Yeah, so consciousness grows us in our lives. And as we're talking about, that can be done on an individual level, where we are growing our own consciousness to know this limitlessness of life itself. That which is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. And yet sometimes we are moved by the collective consciousness. Sometimes the collective consciousness comes in and creates this wave, and we are either caught, quote, trapped, or regardless, moved by this wave of the collective, the group consciousness. And that group consciousness can be used for good and not so good. We've seen that when when something breaks out, say in a stadium, and very quickly the group consciousness goes to, fight or flight and mass hysteria, or mob. The group consciousness moves very quickly. It can move quickly. It can move slowly. And sometimes it can be used for good. As we've seen in the women's suffrage movement, the civil rights movement, this group consciousness can move us to this greater awareness of life itself. And so we can decide to be a part of it. So this wave started, as Jim and Marcia shared earlier with you, back in June. It actually started even before it got to the Adventures in Spirit. It started with the Stewardship Corps' consciousness. Then it moved to the Core Council's consciousness. And then it came to the AIS committee, and we started to hold this goal. And all of it was moving into this moment of reality that we are celebrating today. And so we can catch the wave. Mm-hmm. And what we want to do is invite you to be a part of this wave, because this is a wave of growing our consciousness in the abundance of our life, in every area of our life, and especially our financial life. Catch the wave of this financial abundance that we have all. We didn't hit the number of pledge goal, but look, we totally busted through the financial goal. So we've hit the goal. This isn't about we want more money. We've hit the goal. So some of you may not have participated in this yet. And we want you to be a part of it. We want you to be a part of this collective consciousness and let it move you.
Yeah, sometimes you stand firm in the wave because you don't want to be pulled over by mass hysteria or whatever the negative side is. But just like with the peace movement, we can ride the wave together, and we can allow the growth in consciousness, the collective growth in consciousness, to help grow our consciousness. Do you see? We can ride that wave to be grown along with everybody else.
Will you click the button?
Yes,
me,
I
please?
will, absolutely.
Okay, because that's telling people to get up and move towards here. Great. So this is truly a moment that we invite you to ride this wave. We are going to have the ushers come, and they're going to pass out pledge cards to catch this wave of financial abundance. Look at the financial abundance in this collective group. The numbers changed from first service to second. They went up. And so we're talking about 152 pledges, but $733,884. Now, honestly, no pledge is too small, and no pledge is too big. But you can pledge that you're going to give $10 in 2016. Catch the wave.
Right. Don't be left out.
Ride it. Ride the wave. And know that as our collective consciousness grows, everyone here in this community grows with it. And so we're going to invite the greeters to just pass the tray. If you want to grab one, great. If you don't, great. And then we're going to invite you, you can just drop it in the offering basket, just like you would a normal offering. So we are here as a community, as we began dancing together, celebrating. Our individual drops have the entire ocean in it. I want you to feel that the entire ocean of life itself, where there is no circumference, is within each of our drops. But when these drops come together, oh my gosh, it's such a beautiful river of life that just flows through each of us as we add our drops. We were at the practitioner minister retreat with all of the collective centers for spiritual living here in Dallas and Glen Rose these past few days. And when we first arrived, the river was shallow enough that I could walk all the way across the river. But the rains came and more drops came. And at the end of that retreat, I could not walk across that river because there was much more abundance. And so we invite you to step in this river and be a part of this, because we came here to live life abundantly. And that's what we're all about. is to be abundant as we live our lives.
Special form is drifting gently through the winter sky, and like that water, I'm created in a special form to see the truth and let my spirit fly. The stream, so our hearts know that love can melt away the chill and wash us in the truth to make us believe.
That infinite power and presence that is lifting and folding and loving and moving in, through, and as creation. a river of life, a river of love, a river of abundance and peace, a river of joy and power, a river of harmony and wholeness. This is the very river of life that is flowing through each and every one of us. And let us this morning fling open the floodgates of our consciousness, that we can allow that river of life to lift us, flow through us, be us, everywhere we go in the world. Let our abundance consciousness grow, our love consciousness grow, our peace consciousness grow, our connection consciousness grow. Let it grow and flood not only our lives, but the lives of all beings everywhere. For there is a river of life, and we are a part of it, and we allow it to flow through us every moment of every day. And so it is.